Last night, Marcelo Bielsa didn't just speak. He exposed the very crisis tearing Uruguay apart right now. A press conference full of contradictions, excuses, and a coach who looks completely disconnected from his players. And tonight, we're diving into all of that next. Welcome back to This Is Fútbol. I have two guests on today's show. We're going to do a special edition where we break down the biggest stories in the game. And the biggest story today is Marcelo Bielsa and the debacle that happened between the USA and Uruguay last Tuesday. Like I said, I got two of my good friends that cover Uruguay, that follow Uruguay. And how's it going tonight, fellas?
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. It's really a tough one because it doesn't get worse than the current situation. I think it's been lingering on, and sometimes we had good results. Sometimes, for example, the game against Colombia, the away games against Brazil. But in general, the last 18 months, I would say, have been in a stagnation, even regression at some point. And this week's result is like, it kind of now everything is coming out, and it's a shitstorm. Yeah, basically.
How about you, Gabe? How's it going, man? Everything going good with you?
Sorry, bro. Connection problems. Yeah, everything going good. I mean, yesterday was a struggle to watch that, I can't lie. But I didn't expect it to go on as long as it did. And like you guys said, man, just so many excuses, bro. Like you can't even put it into words. Like how does one not achieve like to have the team under his on his side, at this point, like this far into his reign, I don't know.
Absolutely, man. So let's just summarize for everybody. Marcelo Bielsa last night, he faced the Uruguayan press after an international window where Uruguay played against Mexico, tied 0-0, didn't take a shot, and then got absolutely plastered by an MLS, basically an MLS USA side with most of the players in the MLS. And what he said last night and what he didn't say has really sent shockwaves through the entire country, from his explanations about the team's physical state to his response about the locker room atmosphere and to the way that he addressed or he avoided the responsibility. There's really a growing feeling that Uruguay is standing at a crossroads. And like you guys said, we're going to talk about it a little bit tonight. And I want to bring up the first question that I want to ask you guys, because like you said, Gabe, it was a long press conference, but to me, there was a lot of interesting quotes that Marcelo Bielsa said throughout the press conference. I'm wondering, for you guys, was there anything that stuck out more than anything that he said?
You want to go first?
Yeah, the thing is with Bielsa, and that's this thing that I had with Tavares as well sometimes, although he was different in the way he did it, is that he speaks a lot without actually saying anything at times. He obfuscates a lot, in the way he answers questions, and people who like him like to pride him on that, and that he comes across intelligently, philosophically. But to me, when certainly in a crisis as this, how am I managed to be straight, to have clear communication to the fans, because obviously with the players that's also a problem, but as well to the fans and the media, that we can address the problems that are going on, that there's actually some accountability, which to be honest, he has shown accountability over the past few days. But for me, it has to be, you have to convey a message which can give or get us some confidence, some hope. But now at the moment, it's not there, and I think the press conference hasn't done any good. Actually, I think it's actually worsened the situation a lot. So yeah.
I agree. I totally agree. Honest to God, like just he says a lot of stuff without actually saying anything. And like, there were there were a few quotes he was saying. He was saying, okay, he's toxic, and there's many ways to be toxic. You can be toxic by not by demanding too much, or by going home and eating and writing in a diary. But he was going blabbing, man, and I don't see how that conference helped the situation at all. I would have rather seen him resign on the spot there, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. I mean, I threw that out on social media yesterday, a video kind of with my message to Bielsa asking him to resign after what I saw being part of the game the other day. Like I told you guys, I was at the team hotel. I was, on the field for the game. And what I saw really from the players, from the way that they played, the way that they acted around the hotel and all that, I just didn't see like Bielsa has a hold of the locker room anymore. And to address what you were saying, Gabe, the quote that he said was, quote, "I'm toxic. To associate yourself with me makes you worse off. Do you understand me?" And if that's the case, if you're a toxic person, how do you feel? How do you think the players feel around you? How can you command a locker room, Dave, with the way that he speaks and the way that he says about himself? He even said, quote, "I'm a generator of tension. When I arrive, the environment becomes tense. That's why I appear infrequently." And I just don't understand how you can continue to be a coach of a team and hold the respect of these players, especially when you come out and you say these quotes in front of the media.
Yeah, no, I completely agree because he is the track record. He has it, When a lot of his managerial spells, there's been some good ones, obviously, at Leeds, at Athletic Club de Bilbao. He had a good, that season when he went into the Europa League and the Copa del Rey final. Although I never hear how he actually was, or he got away there and he finished 12th in his last season with Bilbao. So that's never mentioned. But his track record is there of stirring up controversy, of leaving early at Lille, at Lazio. So it's there. We knew when he got in there that he was signed as a manager because he hopefully could bring us into the new age of football. We obviously were accustomed to Tabares, which was pragmatic. Then we had Alonso, who actually kind of took a step forward for us. But then at the World Cup, everything went falling down, and he kind of got into Tabares' ways. So he was signed to bring us forward, and it looked really good at the start. But what I have started to realize over the last 18 months, is that Uruguay is Uruguay. We don't have to kind of transform our complete identity as a footballing nation. It's good if you are Uruguay to be a pragmatic footballing team in its essence, to have to play to your strengths and kind of cultivate that footballing culture and protect it as well. Because if someone comes here and kind of destroys everything that you stand for as a footballing nation, as a national team, but it does a lot more damage. And with Bielsa, what I would say about him, I understand that he doesn't resign at the moment, because if you look at it from outside objectively, yes, we are not playing well. We have had some terrible results. We've had this stretch in the qualifiers with 6 games scoring 1 goal and drawing 4 games. That's all true. But it's also true that we actually finished the Copa America semi-finalists. I think the way actually the quarterfinal and the semi-final, they weren't good performances, and we are obviously qualified to the World Cup. So from his perspective, I understand why he wouldn't step down, because he still has everything to play for as a manager. He can go to the World Cup with Uruguay. He believes obviously that we can do something there. I don't see it at the moment, but from his perspective, I understand why he doesn't step down. But that's where Alonso or the AUF in general, obviously, it kind of once again is demonstrated that they don't really have a grip of their manager or the direction of the national team. They never have had it for the past 15 years. So yeah.
Gabe?
Listen, there's lots of stuff you can put on Bielsa, and I absolutely agree with it. But to me, yeah, I think you also got to look at the players, not solely in this situation with the conference and all that, but even at club level, these guys have not been performing the way that we expected them to, or B, they would expect of themselves. The quality, I don't know, and especially going forward, those forward players, man, like Max Araujo. I really like Max Araujo, right? It's not been there. The product hasn't been there. Hasn't been there for the national team. It hasn't been there at Sporting right now.
Well, it says a lot. It says a lot that the last, I want to say, 12 years, Uruguay had Forlan, Cavani, and Suarez, and players like Russo Perez, players like Cacho Arevalo Rios, who really showed the identity of playing for Uruguay. And now, the leading goal scorer, who's Uruguayan in Europe, is, if I'm not mistaken, is this guy who's playing for Girona. I'm missing his name right now. I forgot his name, but he's our leading goal scorer, and he's not even on the national team. I believe he's 38 years old. It's Stuani, Christian Stuani. He's the leading
Wonderful.
goal scorer of Uruguayans in Europe. That's how low, Uruguay has gotten. And it just goes to show that, Darwin Nunez is injured. Luciano Rodriguez is not performing to the ability that we saw him perform at the U20 World Cup. And we just don't really have the players. So I see where you're coming from, Gabe, saying, unfortunately, you can't blame it all on Bielsa. But at some point, I still have to say, and look, as a former Bielsa supporter, right, because I was very heavily supportive of Bielsa, but he's shown to me that unfortunately, he has a big disconnect with players nowadays. He's more of an old school coach where you expect him to demand a lot from his players, and players nowadays have gotten soft. At least that's my opinion. Players nowadays want to be coddled by their coach. They want to be, coached by a player-friendly coach, and Bielsa is not like that. He's crazy. That's why they call him El Loco Bielsa. I was at the hotel on Monday when the players got there at 9:00 at night. He took them into a video session for 2 hours talking about the USA national team. Then they went to dinner and he called them back for another video session. The players were up until midnight that night. I mean, the day before a game, and they had practiced 3 hours the day before, something crazy. So I just think there's a big disconnect between what the players actually want from their coach and what Bielsa is looking from them. And at this point, it's my opinion that I think the AUF, who's meeting over these next couple of days, needs to make a change. And it's on them to make the change because Bielsa has shown that he's not going to resign. He has $6 million that he wants to collect. And if he resigns, he won't be able to collect that. So he's going to force AUF and Alonso to make a decision over here over the next coming days. And unfortunately, I think that they're going to continue to keep him on based on what I've heard, based on what the sporting director, Jorge Giordano, said. He said that he supports Bielsa 100%, and it doesn't look like Nacho Alonso is going to do anything, over the next couple of days. So unfortunately for us, we're probably going to have to stick with Bielsa. But talking about the World Cup, before we got on here, Dave, you mentioned if you don't qualify out of the group stage, what are you doing? And 48 teams in this World Cup. You have to be first or second or even a best third to qualify. So we're going to wait for the draw. But what do you guys think the chances are if Bielsa continues to be at the front of this Uruguay team through the World Cup?
I mean, it's really hard to say at the moment because football, obviously, things can change so fast. So that's difficult. But so I don't really know, to be honest. I don't really know. I don't have confidence for us to go on a deep run. And for me, when Uruguay go to the World Cup, although obviously in recent years it's not been the case, in 2022, 2018 was a relatively good World Cup if we judge it on the last 3 World Cup performances. 2018 was the best, obviously. But for Uruguay, obviously, getting out of the group stages or finishing 8th in the world, which is like this narrative that was also created during the 2018 World Cup, or 5th, I think it was. Obviously, Uruguay's not there. I mean, I'm not going to be completely stupid and say Uruguay need to win the World Cup, otherwise it's a failure. Some part of me believes that, but obviously I'm realistic. It's obviously not easy, but we have to go to the World Cup believing that we can do something, that we have confidence in our team, and at the moment, obviously, that's not the case. So that's first of all. I mean, what you just said about Bielsa. The thing is, if he leaves, I don't even know what's a good alternative at the moment. That's one thing we should raise. You probably would know one thing. Another thing
that was going to be my next question was if he were to leave, who would be your favorite to replace him? Obviously, there's been a lot of names that have come out over the last couple of days. Guillermo Almada is one of them. Alexander Medina, who used to be the coach of Nacional, is another one. There's been a couple of names, even Sergio Marcarian, who is a very, very old school coach, an older gentleman. He was named as well. So there are names out there. My favorite would be Guillermo Almada. I think he has shown over the last few years or over his career that he's a very capable coach. He's done it in Mexico, and he did a well job. So, I mean, that would be my favorite, but I don't know who you guys, would put in there.
I don't know, Gabe. I mean, maybe you have a good.
Honestly, at this point, I don't know. Okay, with only a select few games that are going to be played before the tournament even begins, but we're going to play what? I haven't checked what's scheduled, but they're going to play what? Maybe another 4 games before.
Yeah,
before the
there's
tournament starts?
2 games scheduled for March, and I believe 1 scheduled for June. I'm not sure if they're going to schedule another one for June just before the World Cup, but there's 2 scheduled for March.
Yeah.
So three games scheduled right now. If you go and make a change, realistically, are we confident in that a change now is going to alter so much prior to the tournament?
No.
I don't know, and I'm gonna hold the players accountable too, because it's been the same core players for the last 2-3 years, and I've expected more from them regardless of the managerial situation, and even just the attacking of football. Like it's just it's hard to watch right now, and when I'm talking with my friends and they're saying who's going to win the World Cup, and I say, oh, Uruguay's going to win. Uruguay's going to win. Darwin Nunez. Everybody's laughing at me because think of what we were used to. I don't think we realized how lucky we were in that period of time, of regardless of Tavares and whatnot. I don't think we realized how lucky we were at the time. So
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that we'll have some changes, but I'm not
No,
very hopeful at the moment. So.
no, if I can jump in, I agree. I mean, the thing is with this decision, my preferred pick has always been Almada. You know, when Alonso was sacked, or obviously it was a little bit different. He was kind of let go because his contract ran out. But Almada would have been an ideal pick. But for now, Almada is someone you want him to be there at the start of a project. You don't really want him to have to come in just moments before World Cup starts. So then you have to look at a more pragmatic coach who can deliver a job with obviously the material we have, and who doesn't have to revolutionize his whole setup or our whole setup to get something going. So that's why you have to maybe look at, and Aguirre, for example, is a better option, maybe Diego Aguirre, but that's difficult. But another thing is that, and maybe it's not for this podcast, but the thing is, and I think we all kind of are frustrated about that. We have obviously had Suarez, Cavani, Forlan. That's clear, you know. They had Maxi Gomez coming there, you know, at 2018, 2017. Stuani was doing well, but obviously a lot older. And after that, you had Luciano Rodriguez, Alvaro Rodriguez. You had many attacking talents, and I know they are still young, Alvaro and Luciano, but they don't really break through. We have problems now with our next generation that is actually establishing themselves in European football. Many of them actually going to Saudi or to Middle East or to Brazil, Mexico. And that's the biggest problem we have as the national team. I think we still have to do better with the players we have. But when you look at the next generation, certainly in the attacking, in the offensive side of our team, we have problems. So that's maybe for another pot. But it's
No, you're right. You're right. And look, and if we look at the process with Bielsa, right? When Tavares was in charge, Uruguay won the U20 World Cup with Marcelo Broly. Uruguay would finish repeatedly in the top in the South American Cup, the U20 South Americans. And since Bielsa took over, Uruguay didn't qualify for the U20 World Cup. They didn't qualify for the U17 World Cup. And we've looked absolutely terrible on the senior level over the last 18 months. So we could definitely get into what's going on with Uruguay and the team on another pod. But for today, we're going to end it right here. I'm going to give you guys some final thoughts. I'll give you my final thought, and then I'll let you guys give yours. But my final thought is, unfortunately, Bielsa's press conference didn't really show leadership, right? It showed distance from the team, distance from the players, from the reality that we as fans and as media folks see on the field, and really from the urgency of this certain moment. Uruguay right now doesn't need a philosopher. They don't need a lecturer. They don't need a guy who's going to make them run marathons. What Uruguay needs is a leader, someone who's going to understand the Uruguayan DNA, someone who adapts, someone who inspires, and someone who lifts their players instead of draining them like Marcelo Bielsa has done over the last 18 months. Unfortunately, he hasn't built an identity with Uruguay. He hasn't built joy. He hasn't built trust. And after what we saw last night at the press conference, it's fair to ask if he's even capable to turn this thing around. I believe that this team deserves clarity. I believe this team deserves energy. And I believe this team deserves direction. And right now, I think we can all agree that Uruguay has none of the three.
Yeah, fully agree with that. Absolutely. I mean, that's basically it, right? No identity, no progression. We're not working towards anything really. We're only falling down a little bit. problems internally with the team, no trust, no clear communication. Many players who've outed publicly their discontent with, or not many, but several players who outed their discontent with Bielsa and the way he dealt with them. And not any player. I mean, I get that he's been a target of hate, or not hate, but target of criticism for his quotes. But Suarez, I mean, if Suarez speaks on a subject like that, I would tend to trust him, actually, you know. So, and I think the words he said that were echoed by Valverde, for example, and how he defended Canobio, who I think his quote. I mean, I think the things he said every day now, they ring true even more. So yeah, we have to look how we can progress away from this, hopefully, but it's difficult. I'm really interested in to see what actually the developments are with the AOF in the upcoming days. But other than that, let's hope for the best, I guess.
I second the Suarez comments, because if there's anybody that I trust that has had anything to do with the national team over the course of the last 15 years, it's going to be that guy. And all the players in that locker room looked up to that guy, and they still do. And I think you're right, David. Honestly, it echoes even more now after this press conference, and this press conference has made the situation, I'm not sure, much better.
All right, guys, let everybody know where they can find you at. I know, Dave, you put out a lot of great content on Twitter, and Gabe, you as well. So let them know where they can find you at.
Dave, you go ahead. I'm not as established as you.
No, but I'm not really active at the moment. So yeah, I mean, Uruguayan Heroes, obviously, but yeah, unfortunately not that active at the moment. But let's see towards the World Cup if we can get started again.
I hope to see you more active closer to World Cup. You can find me at Royal Pistolero on Twitter.
All right, guys. Once again, thank you for joining us on This Is Fútbol. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the little bell notification so that you are notified every time we drop a new video. And we'll be back next time.